Hello everybody, Razorblade Mango here. Well, I finally did it. I have finally finished Persona 5. It took me 95 hours to do it, but I finally did it, guys. And now I finally want to talk about it. I know this video is nearly 2 months late, and I know. But I actually did make a Persona 5 video a couple weeks ago. And I recorded it. I put it in the video format. I was uploading it to YouTube. And I thought, you know what? This isn't enough. This is bad, actually. Because it was just footage of me talking about the first 40 hours of the game. And I knew that I still had a lot left to cover on this game. And to me, I don't want to put out a video on Persona 5 unless I am absolutely 100% sure that I have seen everything that this game has to offer me in terms of me giving it a final assessment. And I just don't want to do that. I did not feel comfortable putting up that 20-minute video. That would just, and it was terrible. It was not a good video. It's not one of my best. So I just scrapped it, and I went back to Persona 5, and that's where I've basically been the last couple of weeks. Like, you probably have noticed that the lack of videos on the channel, is pretty noticeable. I didn't do a video on Destiny. I didn't do a video on the Mass Effect thing like I wanted to. There were a couple videos that I just probably like the iron is pretty cool right now, so I'm just not going to strike it. You probably have seen like the lack of streams, which I apologize for that again. If I am able to, if nothing gets in my way for this Sunday, I will be going back to Final Fantasy VIII and going back to playing it for you guys. But a mixture of, like being, personal reasons, family reasons, and Persona 5, which that's where I've spent, like last Sunday, I was trying to finish up Persona 5. And I finally finished it last night. And this video is the result of that, where I wanted to talk about it. Now, I'm going to go into mild spoilers on this. I'm not going to spoil the ending. I'm not going to spoil pretty much anything past, I'd say, and for people that have played it, a certain really heated palace. That's all I will say. A very heated palace. That's all I'm going to say. Anything past that point, I'm not going to talk about in terms of specifics. So, you're okay. If you've only played like the first 40 hours, 50 hours of this, don't want to be spoiled. You don't have to worry. So, let's get into it. What is Persona 5? Well, Persona 5 is a spin-off of the Takame Sensei, the Takame Sensei series that is made by Atlus. Now, I am very unfamiliar with the series, including Persona. I have never played any of the other games. I've never played a Persona game in my life until now. I've never played any of the other Megami Tensei games. I've never even, I don't think I've ever even like touched a game by Atlus before. I'm honestly not sure if I have. And this is my very first time going into this series. And I've gotten a couple of questions from people regarding, if I've never played this game, if I've never played any of the other games before, will I understand Persona 5? And my answer to that is a definitive absolutely. This is coming from me. I have never played any of the other Megami Tensei games. I've never played any of the other Persona games. And I completely understood everything that happened in Persona 5. You do not need any prior experience with the series. You don't need to know any of the lore. You don't need to go on like the Megami Tensei wiki and read everything. No, this is its completely own separate story. Sure, I'm pretty sure there are references to past Persona games, past Megami Tensei games. I've seen that a lot of the creatures that are in the past games have returned in this one, but as far as this story, it is its own standalone thing with a satisfying beginning, middle, and end. That's its own thing. And I had heard stories about Persona years before Persona 5 even came out. I remember back in high school, one of my best friends at the time, told me stories of how he spent like 130 hours on Persona 4 on the Vita. And another friend of mine, one of my best friends, talks about the Persona series, like how he's lost time to it. And I just, at the time, I was just like overwhelmed at the prospect of having to play through a 100-hour game. And this is not an open world game. It's linear. It's got like sub areas that are somewhat open world, but basically this campaign will take you at least 90 hours to complete in terms of Persona 5. I can't say anything regarding the past games, but I've heard stories about it, and I was just thinking, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to play any of these games. So I already have a busy life, so I don't know how the hell I'm going to find time for this. And everything that I had seen about Persona 5 was really impressive. And I decided to just finally take the dive with this one. And I'm so happy that I did. I even went out and got the Take Your Heart Collector's Edition. And not only is that one of the best collector's editions I've ever seen in a game, seriously, it's amazing. And if you haven't gotten it, if you never got the Take Your Heart edition and have the game, I recommend trying to find it on like eBay or Amazon. It's totally worth it. I love it. But as I've always said, collector's editions are risky. This is one where the risk completely paid off, because I think Persona 5 is a fucking fantastic game. Fantastic. Any game that has me going on a 95-hour journey and still manages to keep me absorbed, you're doing something right. You are, oh man, you got something good going on if I'm this enraptured by your game for 95 hours straight. That's almost unheard of to me for a linear focused game like this. And what is Persona 5 even about? Basically, I've been trying to think of how to word this. So the game is a JRPG, turn-based JRPG, mixed with a social simulator. You play as this mostly silent protagonist that you get to name, who, because of an unfortunate incident in the beginning of the game where he is accused of a crime he didn't commit, he is put on probation and sent to live with a family friend in Tokyo. And from then on, he has to spend one whole year in this area, go to school, just live the normal life as a student. But because of a couple of run-ins with some characters, you end up having the power to infiltrate people's hearts, which come in the form of these like elaborate dungeons, which are called palaces in this game. And that's the story. The story is you and your group of friends going from one heart to the next, and each heart belongs to like a despicable human being that you have to change in order to not only help yourself, not only help your teammates, but help the society around you as well. And it starts out small, and it gets, definitely like more elaborate and large scale as it goes on. But again, I'm not going to talk about anything that happens after like the 40-hour mark, so you'll just have to find out for yourself what happens. And I'm not even going to go into like specifics, because honestly, like, it's best if you go into this game not knowing anything about it. Just allow yourself to be surprised, because as someone who has never even played a Persona game, I was completely enraptured by this story. And it's not the most consistent story I've ever seen. Like, there's some clunky writing here and there. There's a couple areas of like really irritating padding later on, but for the most part, this is a really damn compelling story with a large, fun, lovable group of characters. And that's not even all there is to do. Like, that's also, that's the main story, but on the side, you can also, live the life as a student. You go to school, you answer questions, you take tests, you hang out with friends, you may even get a girlfriend at one point. There's no gay character options, unfortunately, but also, like, get a job. You can go to like a theme park. You live the life as a student. And that's what I find fascinating about Persona 5. Because around this time as well, I've been trying to complete my college education, my basic college education, and I've been like juggling this game along with juggling this semester. And I felt like it was just, it came into my life at this very appropriate time, where I've been like dealing with school, I've been dealing with going to classes, and how boring it is, and how, stressful some of the assignments can be, and the studying and all that. And then I come home and I play this game that almost romanticizes that in a way, and makes it fun. And it's this like weird, complete like contrast between the two. But at the same time, like, my own personal life and like the events going on in this game like complement each other very well, and it was a weirdly cool experience playing it, and it almost made me miss high school. Like, I did not have a good high school experience. Like, I think the only time I ever really enjoyed high school was the last half of my senior year, and it made me miss high school. It made me miss being trapped in this social system where you have to like go to class and study and graduate, but at the same time you find ways to hang out with your friends, you study together, you go on breaks, you go on vacation, and it made me miss that in this strange way. Because I can call up any of my friends at any time and probably go hang out with them now. But there's something almost romantic about the way it portrays your structure of high school in this game. Because it makes it fun, like I said. You study for tests. You have like a 5-point system. You have knowledge, charisma, guts, charm, and proficiency. And the way you rank those up is like you go to school. Of course, that will increase your knowledge. You get a girlfriend. You drink special, whatever like the latest, hottest tea is. You get charm. You participate in like eating contests, which increases your guts. You make tools. You work a job at a beef bowl restaurant. That increases your proficiency. And your kindness, it increases with, hanging out at a flower shop. You work there. You read books. Yeah, that's another thing. You read books in your spare time. That will increase your stats. You go to, like, there's an example that you can increase 2 stats at once. You go to the library at the school and you study in there, where there's people around you judging you because you're on probation and they think you're a criminal. That increases your guts for having the courage to study in there. You gain knowledge by going in there. And it's this, it creates this structure that it almost like puts you in this loop. It's a gameplay loop, it's a checklist, and before you even realize it, you've spent like 4 hours with this game. And that's outside of the dungeon stuff. That's outside of the combat. Because the social simulator stuff for me was by far like the best part of this game. I fucking loved it. Like, if this whole game was just about that, like, this might be like my game of the year. But, of course, you have, like, you know, the fighting on the side, and occasionally that can get repetitive and shit like that, and that's kind of where it drags it down a little bit, but, you know, it's not going to be perfect pacing throughout, like, a 95 fucking hour game. But the fact that it kept me engaged for this long with this, like, similar gameplay loop, it's great. So, I think the thing that's going to, like, jump out at people the most about this game is its style, which this is one of the most stylish games I have ever played in my life. And it doesn't feel like style for the sake of style, because it's very thematically appropriate. Like, a lot of like bright contrasting colors. You've got black on red, black on green, purple, yellow, like lots of like red in there, and it works whenever you go into each of the dungeons, or palaces in this case. Palaces are all designed, handcrafted, they're not procedurally generated. All of them look fucking beautiful. They all have a select theme for each one, and they're all really fun to explore. And I'm someone that doesn't really like dungeon crawling. I'm someone that doesn't really like turn-based combat. And yet, the way they do it in this game, mixed with the style, the visual panache that this game has, the really fun combat, it makes it so much more enjoyable than it should have been for me. And speaking of combat, like I said, it's turn-based, but there's also elements of trying to find the enemy's weaknesses, like the elemental weaknesses. Some enemies are weak to physical attacks, some are weak to ice, some are weak to psych, some are weak to wind, and you're later able to gain the ability to switch out party members, and they all have their own specific ability where it provides this like extra layer of strategy where you're trying to figure out what each enemy's weakness is and then exploit it. Because if you manage to down an enemy, you surround them and you can do this like really powerful like super takedown attack with all 4 of your teammates, and you can also like negotiate money out of them, you can try to get items out of them, and you can even talk to them in getting their persona. Which, you know, what is a persona? A persona is basically like a god demon thing that rests inside of you and will only come out in this world once you have finally like stopped resisting like the strength of your heart. And it just, there's like this monstrous, like cool ass looking creature comes out. And that's how you get your powers in the game. That's how you get, you know, your wind ability, your psych ability, nuclear abilities, all that stuff. It's all from your persona, all from these monsters. And the main character is the only one that is able to acquire multiple of them. So again, that's another game. It's like a Pokemon thing where you gotta collect all the personas. You fuse them together. You sacrifice one to strengthen the others, and it all plays in. There's like tons of layers going on in this game. It's super, super deep. Like, you can even miss out on certain things if you just don't do it, and that's okay. Like, you don't have to like go super into the persona thing in order to get the most out of this game. You don't. The only things you really need to worry about are just the dungeon crawling and the social simulator stuff, which they both complement each other really well. Which social simulation, if you're able to keep that up, you can get extra powers that will help you out in these dungeons. If you improve your relationship with your confidants, you're able to get like discounts at the weapon shop, discounts at the clinic, at the medical clinic. You get to earn abilities for your allies, like they will Like if you're able, like say you're affected by a status ailment, they'll snap you right out of it. There's an ability that will get you to like automatically go to that super takedown position, like straight into the battle. And it pays to pay attention to your surroundings. It pays to pay attention to what people's needs are, what you need to do, how to manage your time. That's the cool thing about it. And unless you get fucking lucky, you're not going to be able to max everything out on your first go around. But this is where New Game Plus comes in, and I haven't gotten around to New Game Plus, but I'm tempted to do a video on that once I've gone through that, because I do want to go through this game again on a New Game Plus, and because it's just that great. And oh my god, the music, good giggity god, the music in this game is beautiful. A mixture of this really cool jazz, like snappy beat, a lot of like vocal songs in it that are all performed and written excellently. Like there's so many songs in this game that have just become like a staple in my daily life. Like if I'm at work, sometimes if I'm on the computer, I'll start playing the song you get whenever you wake up in your room in the morning. There's one of the final boss songs. Like I just fucking love. I've been playing it for like the last 3 days straight on my phone or my computer whenever I'm working. This soundtrack has basically just become a permanent staple in my life, and it's wonderful. I love the soundtrack to this game. And another thing, probably my favorite thing about this game too, besides the social simulator stuff, well actually no, that complements it, is this cast of characters. I think these kind of games where you go on for this long and it's this story driven really do live or die on the characters. This is something that I think failed Final Fantasy 15, because story was already a fucking mess, but I never really felt like I had become friends with these characters. It didn't do a good job at that, in my opinion. And I think Persona 5 is the game, for me, that Final Fantasy 15 should have been. Because right from the get-go, you start out at your lowest point. You start at, like, you've been mislabeled as a criminal. You've been kicked out of your city by the court system. You gotta go live on probation. It sucks. Everyone is judging you. Your guardian judges you. He's depressed. And it starts out low. Like, you're at your low point, which makes it all the more satisfying when you start gaining friendships, you start improving your reputation, and you just get higher and higher and higher. And the way you do that, you meet these cast of characters that are all great. I love almost all of them. A couple of them, like one party member in particular, could have been a lot better, but they're okay. But the rest of them, I think, are... I love them. I love them in the same sense that I love the cast from Kingdom Hearts. I love the cast from Mighty Other Stories. I love the cast from Tales from the Borderlands, Witcher 3. Like this is up there with some of my like all-time favorite ensemble casts in any game. And I really genuinely felt like I was becoming friends with these guys. And it's not just through fighting enemies and defeating bosses and saving people. It's also via just simple things like going out and training with them, going out and eating dinner with them, studying together. And you do this so often that it really just feels like you're one of the group. You really are just progressively making friends as you go along. And by the end of the game, you have this large group of friends that you've been through hell with together. So you have these like bonds of friendship. And it reminded me a lot of Kingdom Hearts, which is a great thing to compare to for me. Because by the end of this long journey, and when I finally got to my ending, there are multiple endings. When I got to my ending, I didn't want to say goodbye. I didn't want to say goodbye to these characters. I didn't want to say goodbye to this world. I wanted to stay in this game. It could have gone on for another like 90 hours and I would have been fine with that. But it's just so, I love it. It's warm-hearted in the end. And it's very bittersweet when it finally comes to its conclusion and you're like, wow. Like it ends perfectly too. Like the true ending of the game, the last scene of it is perfect. And I loved it. I loved the way it sends off these characters, and for it being my first time playing a Persona game, it works wonders to really get you invested in this story. It doesn't at all make you feel alienated from this world if you haven't played any of the other games. There's no requirement to. It is just this warm-hearted experience with this like large group of friends. And I love that. And now I've gone on and on about like a lot of the positive things, a lot of things I love about this game. And believe me, I do love this game. But there are a couple of things in it, a couple of big things in it that prevent it from me being comfortable calling it my game of the year. One, I do think it is a tad too long for what the story that they're trying to tell. I think it's about maybe 10 hours too long, 10, 15 hours too long. And particularly in like the last couple of areas, there's a lot of padding. There's an unfortunate like boss rush situation at one point that to me was not all that fun, particularly when the safe rooms are not spread, they're not put in there very frequently. So if you die on like a regular enemy, you gotta go all the way back to the beginning, and it's so frustrating. And if you want to save, you gotta run all the way back to the save point, and it's not fun. Like those padding points, not fun. Did not like those, and I started to get frustrated with them. Some of the palaces have puzzles. These I did not like at all. I preferred the areas where you would just crawl around and fight enemies and rinse and repeat. I preferred that. Solving puzzles is not this game's strength, and unfortunately I think they play that card a little bit too frequently in some of the dungeons. Another thing I didn't really care for was the really vague way you're able to tell, almost non-existent way you're able to tell how many points you need left in order to increase one of your social skills. Like, I didn't know how long it would take me to get my kindness up to maximum. I didn't know how long it would take me to get any of them up to maximum. There's no established point system. It's just, you get a point, you rank up, and that's it. You don't see like a meter filling up or anything like that. And that, to me, can prove to be frustrating. Also, the localization, and there have been, a lot of articles going along with a lot of the localization problems, and I do have to agree that some of the way this dialogue is written is really awkward and really poor in terms of grammar. And I have to think, like, what the hell were they thinking writing some of these sentences? Like, some of them just don't make any fucking sense. And it's like, guys, you had so long to write this game, and you wrote, like, the dialogue, and it's like, really? You couldn't have fucking done this a lot better? It's just, some of it is just, and I even feel like some of the Japanese ones are, like, translated poorly. Like, some of the cultural stuff, particularly when you have to answer questions in the classroom, it's just so poorly done at times that I just was like, ugh, it did not like some of the translation in it. However, I don't think it is as big of a deal as some of the articles I've written. Like, it just like ruins the game. It didn't for me. Never did. Also, I didn't like that sometimes the game, like, especially when you coming out of like the mementos, which is the, it's a side area, but it's like the procedurally generated version of the palaces. So that's what that is. Go in there to grind. When you come out of that, or when you come out of a palace, you sometimes all the time you're told, hey, you're tired, go to sleep. And it's like, what the fuck? No, that gets so annoying. And the only way you're able to do anything after coming out from the palaces or coming out from the mementos is you have to maximize your confidence with a certain character, and then that way they'll give you the ability to do stuff after you come out of the palaces. And it gets really annoying because sometimes the game will also throw you these curveballs, as like there was a day where, and it gives you a calendar too, but the calendar is not very good at explaining what's going to come up. And I know, yes, I know in life that certain things will come up that will distract you from your plans, but come on, this is a video game. A video game that encourages you, tells you to manage your time wisely. And then, like, you're trying to do all these, like, juggle all these different things, and say you, like, plan a night where you're like, hey, I'm going to go out with this character, I'm going to get my confidence raised with them, and I'm going to increase my, trust with them, and I'm going to get a new ability. And then when you go out to do it, it's like, no, I need you to stay here and wash dishes the whole night because you're living above a coffee shop. And it's like, what the fuck? You didn't tell me that I was going to have to do this. So that just like throws your entire plans off. And that could be before like a big story beat. So if you have to go into a dungeon and you have to fight people, you won't have that ability that you managed into your time frame before the game threw a fucking curveball at you. That can prove to be really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. And also, finally, the thing that I did not like, and I'm probably going to get some shit for this, but it is some of the how do I put this? There is a certain character in this game that is frequently victimized by one of the villains as like a sexual object. Like actually quite a few of the villains treat her like a sexual object. They like objectify her. They look at her and go, wow, you have nice tits, or wow, you're sexy, come over here, be my slave. Like literally one character at one point is like, you are my sex slave. If you want me, it's a blackmail situation where like, hey, if you want me to help your friend, you better fuck me. And this character goes through all that, and it's completely sympathetic, and it's terrible. You hate the villain that's doing it. But the game will also have bits where, like this one particular, fuck it. It's before the first 40 minutes. And Ann, that's who it is. Ann, in like the first area of the game, is treated like the sexual object by the villain, and you hate the villain, and you feel so sorry for her, you feel sympathetic, and you want to help her out. And then when she becomes part of the team, what is her outfit? Her outfit is a fucking skimpy ass red cat suit with her cleavage out and her ass in like these tight pants, and it's like it just feels so inconsistent with like what's going on this side. It just conflicts with it, and it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And also there's bits where she'll be in like a bikini, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with her being in a swimsuit. I don't have a problem with her, wanting to be sexual with certain characters, but the idea of like her introduction to the characters is her being objectified sexually, her being like blackmailed sexually, and then treat her like a sex object throughout the mementos and the fucking palaces with like the weird suit that she wears, and like the fact that when she gets knocked down, her ass is like up in the air, and then she like has like these sexy poses and whatever. And then there's parts later on where she's like or she has like her cleavage out, and characters will look at her like that's a random characters like Ryuji, one of the other characters. He'll just blatantly look at her cleavage and just be like, "Huh? I'm looking at cleavage." And he'll like literally like grab her like make motions like he's like grabbing her tits at one point. It's completely bizarre, and I think it's just an unfortunate byproduct of it being from Japan, and Japan not really thinking it's that big of a deal, but it feels, it kind of takes me out of the game when they do stuff like that. And that I did not like. I did not like the treatment of like the only the only two gay characters in this game are treated like as like outrageous stereotypes. Like it's like gay panic almost. And that I did not like. That they serve no purpose whatsoever. That did not need to be there. I did not like that. You could have taken that completely out of the game. Would not have made a difference. So, and I know some people are probably going to go, oh, you're an SJW. And fuck you. Why don't you fucking snowflake? And it's like, fuck you. Like, fuck you. I can talk about this shit all I want. My goddamn channel. So, yeah, call me an SJW. But you know I'm right. So anyway, that's really all I have to say on Persona 5. It is a great game. And even with my problems, it is one that I have no problem highly recommending to a lot of people. And not even the bullshit that Atlus pulled with them, you know, restricting the sharing on the PS4 and all that, and them being so paranoid of spoilers. And you can literally view the endings on YouTube right now. You can literally just go on YouTube and type Persona 5 all endings, and they'll all be there in their glory. I don't know what the point of that restrictive shit was, Atlus, but it didn't help. So, would I recommend Persona 5? Fuck yeah, I would. I would absolutely 100% recommend Persona 5. I loved it. The 95 hours that I spent with it felt completely fulfilling, and that was worth my time. And for a 95-hour game, I think that's like the best compliment you can give it. It was worth my time that I spent with it. And I can't wait for whatever they're going to do with Persona 6. We won't get it for a long-ass time, but I am excited as hell to see what they're going to do next with this series. And whatever spin-offs they do of Persona 5, which they'll probably do a fighting one, which I'll probably get, because I love these characters. So, anyway, that's my Persona 5 video. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for being patient with me on this. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of Persona 5. Spoiler free, please. Keep it nice and spoiler free. And if you spoil the game, I will drop the block hammer on you. Sorry, this is your warning. Don't spoil the game in the comments or you're banned. Simple as that. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day, everyone. Take care.